Hello everyone, my name is Aiden and this is AuthorQuest. Thank you so much for joining me today as we talk about the difference between a fantasy species and a fantasy race. In my video, 20 sci-fi fantasy races and their uses, I ran through a list of fantasy races and I just gave some small descriptions of what they are. And somebody left a comment on that video, and it was a really good comment, and they asked what is the difference between a fantasy race and a fantasy species, because as I was going through it, it does look like each and every race that I put up there was a different species. I sat down, I thought about it for a little while, and these are the answers that I came up with, and I hope that you like them, and I hope that they're sufficient. I put in a lot of time into it because it is an important distinction. So here's what I came up with. The species is the biological aspects of the beings. Whether they are bipedal humanoids, amorphous arachnids made of smoke, or sentient turtles, the role they play in the story has nothing to do with their biological attributes. In terms of storytelling, the race is the role the species plays in the story. Let's take humans, for example. In one story, they can be the everyman people. In a lot of stories, they are, because, you know, humans are the everyman people in the real world. In another story, they could be the last of their kind, which is a story that we've seen before. In another story, they could be the mighty steed, even, or the gentle giant. Now let's take my sentient turtles example from before. In one story, they can also be the everyman people. In another story, they could be the last of their kind. In another story, they could be the mighty steed or the gentle giant. Now, a common twist storytellers will do is create or use a species that the reader will be predisposed to assume the archetype is one way, but they will bait and switch, and it's the opposite. A great example is from one of my favorite films, the 2011 film Super 8 by J.J. Abrams. And in the beginning of the movie, it's presented as the alien. The alien is presented as a scary, almost horror-like creature that has escaped imprisonment. At the end, the spunky kids trying to film their own indie movie on a Super 8 camera discover that the alien is mostly nice and just trying to get home. Another great example is the movie franchise Gremlins. At the start, the gremlin creatures are cute and cuddly, but then after a midnight snack, they turn into the character's worst nightmares. And again, in all of these things, the race archetype, in terms of storytelling, is the role that the species plays in the story. And so as you're creating your races, remember that what they look like, the biological attributes that they have nothing to do, or typically don't have anything to do with their role in the story. That isn't necessarily a mechanical thing. Like if you have a race that only one of them can open the magical lock that can get into the magical vault, then yeah, that plays a pretty big part in the story, I'm sure, as a plot device. But in terms of the role of the story, that is what the race is, not their biological aspects. So I really hope that this explained that for all of you out there, and explains the question. So anyway, thank you so much for joining me in this video, and please check out some of my other videos. I hope that you'll like it. Also, do check out Codex Archetypum. It's a book that I wrote that is a compendium of all sorts of science fantasy archetypes that are found commonly in books and literature today. And I hope that you like it. It's a great resource. And I'm currently working on the second edition of that, so if you have any feedback or anything that you would like different in Codex Archetypum for the second edition, please let me know down in the comments. So, thanks. Huzzah!